Hello viewers, well, Gran Turismo 7 has seen its latest update, the February update. Of course this is all about PSVR 2, but we've got new cars, the Sophie AI, and of course the Grand Valley Speedway. Seeing here with one of the new cars, the Honda RA272 1965. I thought this would be a great car to purchase, and I've done all my driving from cockpit cam today. Obviously I don't use a cockpit cam on Gran Turismo because I don't like the cockpit cam options that are available. They're not acceptable for me to be able to see out the car the way I'd like to, and you'll see that later in the video. So this car's a beauty because you can look at the wheels, lean over, line yourself up with the apex, and that'll work well in VR. Of course, I've also run the new Grand Valley Speedway. Now when I first saw the Grand Valley Speedway, I was under the impression it was something beside the, using some of the valley up maybe, or Grand Valley Highway, sorry, Grand Valley Highway 1. I thought this was something that used the landscape and the modelling, but no, it's a reimagining of the entire Grand Valley circuit. So there are several races you can complete here. I've completed all 4 races now, and I'll show you some of those in a separate video, bit of gameplay with the different variations. As we go through this video, I'm going to show you the 4 races that are on offer and a couple of different variations on the course, and then give you my feelings on the changes that have been made. So firstly, you come back to Gran Turismo after a bit of time away, and the graphics never fail to disappoint. I mean, it really is a stunning looking game in terms of the market and the technology that's out there from competitors. Little improvements that are being made all the time. I remember when we looked at an early version of it and I wasn't as impressed as I'd like to have been, and then when the final game came out, it had quite a lot of texture detail and details added in the rain and details added in the floor that perhaps weren't there initially in the preview build. So it's always difficult to tell where something is in the scheme of development when you're taking a look at it, and Gran Turismo have been obviously keeping their cards close to their chest on developments. But here we are then, Grand Valley Speedway. So obviously it's a different scene, it's got a more authentic sort of US highway feel about it. We've seen this in different games. There are various different sort of highway road tracks that you see in games over the years, and project cars in Grid 2. So it's got that sort of regular feel to it. I was racing it and didn't realise it was the original Grand Valley. I can't say that the memory clicked with me when I was driving around, because it is so different from the original track. The actual scenery, the various undulation, it is a different circuit in every way. Getting into the cars straight away obviously depends on the tyres you've got and the type of balance. My wheel is set a bit too sensitive. I haven't been on Gran Turismo driving much really since probably July, since I was streaming last year, so it's been quite a long time since I've been on it, and it would take time to get back up to speed again. We saw one of the laps then, that was one of the shorter laps, now the BRZ on the faster lap. I think that was the GTO a moment ago, by the way. I will just point out the GTO is for me the legend car from the original Gran Turismo, and I always have a soft spot for it whenever I play a Gran Turismo game. Again, you're kind of getting on the power on this exit, and then you're flat through this corner, and a little bit of lift here, but there's no lifting when you're in the LMP cars of course. You need to be brave. Have those nice views of the seaside and the sea. You have the beach with the seemingly dead seals on it. There's one moving, but the rest of them just look like dead bodies. It's very strange. In the main, the environment itself, as you can see, is quite sparse. It's quite empty. There's not a lot there in terms of colour or excitement. I kind of feel as I'm driving around, I was enjoying the drive. It's a technical circuit, there's dirt, there's not many curbs. I would probably have preferred a few more racing curbs here and there, but they're keeping the authenticity of the circuit. Some aspects of it a little bit bland, some aspects of it lack, as I say, character. In terms of the character, the original Grand Valley for me was one of those iconic circuits in the game. And I don't think that this is iconic in quite the same way, in any way. In a way, there's a part of me that would have liked a track very similar to this, but also like the original Grand Valley Speedway with the original camber and banked corners that we enjoyed. It had a nice flow to it. That was part of something to me felt like it almost had that Suzuka feel to it when you were racing round, and you had that first sector and the way the corners strung together. Some parts of this track feel a little bit disjointed in comparison, don't necessarily flow as well. This last sector is very committed. Often in games, when I talk about tracks, I talk about why is the track there? What kind of racing does it do? How many people go there? How do they get there? To give the track a real feeling of why it is there. And this is one of those tracks that, again, doesn't really tell me what kind of racing goes on there. Doesn't tell me why it's there. It doesn't have that feel to it. And believe it or not, that's all a part of the feeling of believability of the circuit. So some elements are there, but some aspects of it not so good. Really struggling on the Ford GT. This is a reverse circuit now, and I didn't enjoy this. I was going off all over the place, I think, but I won it on my first go, and I thought, no, I don't like doing the track in reverse. It didn't appeal to me at all. As you can see, I'm using the cockpit cam in all of these races, and I wanted to use it to prepare myself for the VR, to remind myself just how bad the view was from the cockpit on this game, and to remind myself why I don't drive from the cockpit on Gran Turismo. It's very frustrating, the fact that the view is so far back and the window for racing is so small, and you're looking at such a small amount of the track ahead. Here, of course, you can't move your head, and there's a lot of blind corners. So you kind of turn the car in and you look for some sort of line in the road, and that's your moment of acceleration. It takes a while to learn the circuit, and as I say, backwards for me. I don't tend to like backward circuits anyway. But either way, work my way around here. So yeah, the cockpit cam, just wanted to get my feeling back on it. I wanted to dial my wheel back in, and I'll be back streaming again soon. So I'm planning to be back streaming very soon now, maybe in a week, maybe the end of this week, maybe next week. I don't know if I can get it all set up again and stream the VR. If I do get the VR, you know, when I get my delivery, then I will stream a bit of that as well. It's been expensive, the VR. It's a very expensive thing, and as I've said, I'm not entirely sold on it. I'm really not. You know, I felt that I should buy it because of content, because it's what I do in terms of racing. But I don't necessarily feel like it's worth buying yet if I didn't do what I do in terms of all these videos. So getting the backward circuit out of the way, the reverse circuit, that's fine. And then I moved on to the Le Mans race. I won the first 3 races. I didn't win the Le Mans race, so I'd need to run it again. I didn't know if there was a pit stop was required, so I made a pit stop, and it turned out I didn't need to make a pit stop. But there you go. So, but either way, it was nice and fast running in this circuit. Lots of grit, lots of commitment through the corners. Again, another example of how you can't see where you're going outside the cockpit. As soon as you get to some of the hairpins, you're just feeling for where the exit is rather than actually knowing. And I think a car like this is what I want to see in VR. How, you know, turning my head, getting a feeling like I'm in the claustrophobia of a real Le Mans car. This is what I want from the VR. I want to look at apexes and marker boards and various details and feel like I'm there, and that's what you can expect to see on my upcoming videos. Most of the videos I've seen, all of the videos I've seen covering Gran Turismo have been, for me, very disappointing so far. They've not really gone into it in any detail. They've not told me the answers to the questions I have. It's been quite confusing how it's been marketed, and I don't think it's been marketed very well at all. So certainly it wasn't enough to convince me. Again, as I say, if I wasn't doing this, I wouldn't be buying it right now. But let's just see how it is in here, and whether this convinces me. And if it convinces me, then I'll let you guys know, and maybe that will convince you too. I do love VR. It's just, unfortunately, from a technical standpoint, purchasing games and developers making games, we need the viability to be there, and that means Sony need to sell millions of these to make it worthwhile for developers to invest the huge costs in development. So coming through those final few corners, always very committed, and you can see there, couldn't really see where I was going, but either way it worked. So Grand Valley, it's a fun technical circuit to drive. I enjoyed the driving. I think in terms of racing, it will be fun. Bit of a pain when somebody crashes in front of you, because likely you'll go straight back into them a lot of the time. I think it lacks the iconic feel and detail of vibe of the original circuit, and I don't know, I just don't like it when they change circuits in this way. It's not Grand Valley as we knew it, and that kind of disappoints me a little bit. You know, I think there are some circuits that if you're going to make Autumn Ring, you're going to make High Speed Ring, you're going to make Grand Valley, just build the track as it is, but modernise it, make it feel realistic. Instead, we've ended up with a track that sort of feels like a real highway road, but doesn't really feel like a real race track. It's a track in the middle of nowhere, but logistically speaking, it's just a very odd design. And as you can see there, a lot of it's very bland in texturing. It's an unusual mix with a nice bridge and a lovely view, and a nice fast tunnel, and everybody loves a nice fast tunnel as well. So that's it. Also, I will just point out a note to the wonderful light changing throughout the day. As ever, the light changing, it's very nice. Again there, very bland texturing outside the tunnel. It feels very rushed, elements like that. I don't know. Maybe it's me, maybe I just wanted something a bit different, and this wasn't really what I was after, but I do enjoy the circuit. I'm looking forward to the VR. We'll see what it's all about, and testing the other cars, and a look at Sophie on a future video. But that's it from me for now. As ever, more soon.